Something happened last night that I can't get off my mind. I've run through the events in my head over and over again, but I can't make it make sense. I'm hoping that writing it out may bring some clarity that I can't get just by thinking on it. For some background, I live in a decently sized 2-story home with my mom and older brother. We have an office with a computer downstairs, and I frequently stay up late, goofing off on the internet until my body tells me it's time to go to bed. Last night, it was around 2 a.m. when I finally decided to call it and head to my room. I shut everything down and made my way to the stairs, making sure to turn off all the lights behind me as I went. When I reached the beginning of the stairs, I realized it was too dark to see up them, and my phone was in my bedroom on the second floor. I briefly considered the effort of going back and turning the lights on again, but my tired brain was ready for bed and I decided just to make my way up the stairs in the darkness. It's a basic staircase that I'd gone up and down thousands of times before. First you head up a few steps, turn on a landing halfway up, traverse the remaining few steps, and at the top, you're only a couple of footfalls from the bedroom door. Like I said, simple. It was basically muscle memory at this point. I took the first set of steps up to the landing, keeping my hand on the railing to navigate my way through the inky black darkness. Once on the landing, I took the same turn I always do and began stepping up the second set of steps. If I had to guess, I would say that normally from this point, it was only about 5 to 7 more seconds until I reached my bedroom. Tonight, however, I had gotten lost in my own thoughts and did not realize at first that I had spent much longer walking up the stairs. I'd guess that probably a full minute passed before I realized I had been walking for too long. I gripped the handrail tighter and tried to make sense of my surroundings, but the surrounding area was too dark. I felt a sickness in my stomach immediately. I tried desperately to squint through the darkness, to no avail. I rationalized with myself that, as long as I followed the railing, I would have to make it to the top of the stairs eventually. I took a deep breath and put one foot up in front of the other. I did this several times, making sure to cling to the railing on one side and run my hand along the wall on the other. I can't describe the deep-seated sense of dread and wrongness I felt the further up the stairs that I got. I should have been at the top by then. I considered screaming for help, but I couldn't shake the thought that I was just exhausted and not thinking straight. I didn't know how I'd explain myself if my mom woke up and came running to help me. I had the idea to then count. I'd count each step as I took it, and then this would finally make sense. So I counted, but it never made any more sense. I took it slow and stopped counting past 80. I must have been walking up the stairs for 10 minutes or more. I spent the whole time considering what I should do, but the only thing I could do was make my way up each step. I didn't dare turn around and risk getting even more lost. I was getting nowhere, just endlessly walking upstairs. I stopped on a step and took a moment to collect myself. As I stood still, my skin began to crawl. A lump formed in my throat that dared to turn me into a sobbing mess if I didn't continue walking. I felt terrified and ridiculous at the same time. I was at a complete loss for what to do. I felt like a child who got separated from their parent at a department store. Then, the stairway was suddenly filled with light. I stood in the dead center of the second set of stairs, feeling an intense mixture of confusion and relief like I'd never felt before. I peered up the stairs to see my brother at the top, looking down at me. He looked almost as confused as I felt. Blinking sleepily at me from a few feet away, my brother spoke first. "I've been hearing footsteps on the stairs for the past several minutes. What are you doing?" I opened my mouth to speak, but I didn't know what to say. I slept with the lights on last night. I'm scared to turn them off until I can understand what happened to me. If my brother hadn't turned on the stairway light, I'm not sure that I would be here writing this story. The first time I heard the knocking from the mirror, I thought I was crazy. To be honest, I was quite drunk the first time, and I chalked it up to the pounding in my brain. The next time, however, I was stone cold sober, and I knew I wasn't just imagining things. I was in bed, reading a book, curled up in content, and the sound of it startled me. I live alone, you see, and it was late. Things were nice and quiet, so the noise stood out against the silence. It was like knuckles rapping on glass. Tinny sounding, backed by a faint but distant thud. Thud, thud, thud. I checked the windows first. My home is just one story, but there was nobody there. It wasn't until it happened again, about 10 minutes later, that I realized the sound came from the bathroom. There aren't any windows in my bathroom. As the days went, it happened more and more frequently. Sometimes the knocks were soft and almost non-existent. Other times they were loud and insistent. There was an almost urgent quality about them when they were loud, a steady drum of sound that shook me to my core. I had investigated thoroughly, had even taken the mirror off the wall to check behind it, but I had found nothing. What had I expected to find anyway? There was no explanation for what I was experiencing, and desperate as I was, I knew I wouldn't find one. That didn't stop me, however, from tucking the mirror away in the linen closet in the hallway. All that did was somewhat muffle the knocking. It didn't stop it, it only got worse. Whatever was clamoring for my attention didn't like that it was being ignored, shoved aside, and hidden. I ended up putting the thing back on the wall so I could get some sleep at night, which really is funny to think about. It wasn't as though I was getting 8 restful hours of sleep anyway. I was lucky to get a couple, and even then it was a fitful at best. About a week after the knocking began, I started to see things. I was brushing my teeth when I saw something in my reflection, lurking over my left shoulder. I wasn't looking at the mirror straight on, I was looking at the sink, but I saw in my peripheral. I glanced over my shoulder and saw nothing, but another look towards the mirror showed that whatever it was still there. When I tried to see it clearly, staring directly into the mirror, it kept out of sight. It hid just beyond the edges of the glass, and those places where my eyes could not go. I started brushing my teeth in the kitchen after that and combed my hair in my bedroom where there were no reflective surfaces. Once or twice, I even took showers at the truck stop near the highway, anything to avoid prolonged stretches of time in that sinister little room. It started speaking to me last night, throaty whispers that flowed down the hallway, echoing strangely as though the sound is reverberating many times over before reaching my ears. I can't make out many of the words, it's mostly growls, but I think it wants me to let it out. Maybe I should. Maybe I should just break the mirror and give it what it wants. Maybe if it's free, I'll be able to sleep again, live my life again, not be afraid to shower in my own house again. It's not knocking anymore. It's pounding at the glass. I can hear the mirror rattling against the wall. I don't know what to do, but I'm considering grabbing the hammer from the garage and just giving it what it wants. I can hear glass breaking. The mirror's off the wall. I don't have to open the bathroom door to know that. I'm sure there are shards of glass scattered across the floor and the basket of the sink. I close my eyes and clench my hands into fists. I'm standing in the hallway just outside the bathroom. I hear the door open, then I feel it breathing on my neck. It whispers in my ear that horrible growl of a voice. Knock, knock. My name is Jacob Snow. I work for NASA as a communication worker. I am the main person who works at this kind of job, so every transmission we get, I get to listen to it first and decipher it. For as long as I have worked for NASA, we have never gotten a transmission from space that wasn't from us, at least until now. Everyone thinks that the government hides anything to do with aliens, but in truth, we don't know much either. Trust me, we have been looking, and we have been looking for a long time, but to no avail. The government is going to hide this though, so I'm putting this out there first before anything. As soon as I tell everyone what I heard, things will turn to chaos. This only happened 15 minutes ago. I'm still shaking out of fear from what it said. I always had a great fear of us being alone in the universe. In all honesty, I'm more scared of us being alone than us not. If we go extinct, that's it. There's no other life out there. It will just be silence in an empty space with no one around. That is my greatest fear. So when I realized that this was from intelligent life, I got excited. This started only 15 minutes ago. I was sitting at my desk on the verge of falling asleep when I received it. It was just a beeping sound, but it was on every single frequency that I could listen to. At first, I thought it was just someone on the space station, but when I took a closer look, It was coming from 26 light years away. This means that this was from intelligent life outside of Earth, and it was close. I immediately jumped up and started writing down the sequence of the beeping. It was Morse code. Whoever was sending this knows Morse code, and they're only 26 light years away. This also means that this was sent 26 years ago. So whatever this message is going to say isn't modern. I was writing down as much as I could. I had to listen to it a couple of times before I could make out the first two words. I kept listening, and after only 5 minutes, I got the whole thing down. This is what I got. Now, I'm no expert on Morse code, so I had to read it a couple times, making sure everything is right. After only 3 minutes of reading it over and over again, I finally understood what it was saying. I froze. I felt my heart sink. My stomach felt like someone was twisting my organs. I felt like I was about to vomit. It couldn't have been right. I must have read it wrong, or wrote it wrong. I listened to it over and over again, and kept writing it again and again, only to get the same short message. I noticed that my skin turned cold. No matter how much I tried rewriting it, I still got the same message. This was it. This is what they said. I got nothing wrong. It was only a short one-sentence message, but it was real. I looked at the paper I had and read it out loud slowly, and the message they sent was terrifying. You are the last ones. They are coming for you. I don't know what to do anymore. I know that I shouldn't have, but I agreed to play with some of my friends with a Ouija board. We decided to do it in my house at night in my room while my parents were out, and I knew that my little brother wouldn't be a bother since he would just be sleeping. Nothing actually happened, so we just thought it didn't work. When we were done, and already put the board away, we heard a sudden cry from my brother's room. Okay, so to be more exact, my house is a 2-story house, with all the bedrooms on the 2nd floor, so my brother's room was right next to mine. I decided to check it out, knowing that my brother was supposed to be sleeping. When I came into his room, I saw him laying beside his bed with tears in his eyes. Thinking that it was normal for a 7-year-old to sometimes fall out of bed, I just helped him get back on it, and besides a little pain on the side that he fell, nothing was wrong with him. That was when it all started. No one thought anything about the fact that he would just sometimes get nightmares, or just trip on air, just normal stuff. But then it started to get worse. His nightmares would terrify him so much that he would wake up screaming in the middle of the night. After that, he would have to sleep with either me or our parents since he refused to be left alone. Soon enough, I began to notice when he would start getting bruises on his arms and legs. I told my parents about it, and they asked him who did this to him. He said that it was the bad man with the mask, the same one that would appear in his nightmares. Soon enough, my brother started saying that the bad man wants to hurt all of us. Me being the supernatural believer that I was, I believed him, feeling as though what was happening to him was my fault. If I just didn't touch the board, would the entity still be after my little brother? While nothing else was really happening, what took place a few days ago frightened me. Me and my brother were the only ones at home, both watching TV in our living room when I had to go to the bathroom. Once I was done, I heard sudden screaming from the living room. I panicked, and when I tried to get out of the bathroom, I could feel the weight of something blocking the door from opening. I desperately tried to open the door to no avail while screaming my brother's name. I was terrified. My brother kept screaming and crying, and I could swear that I heard the sound of glass breaking. When I finally managed to get out, my brother's screaming stopped. The only sound now was his crying. When I got to the living room, I was shocked. The couch was visibly moved. The glass table that we had was actually broken in half, and my little brother laying in the middle of the room, blood now coating his arms. There were visible claw marks. Once he saw me, he instantly got up and ran towards me while muttering, "He was here." When our parents got back from the shop, they were visibly shocked at the state my little brother was in, just like our living room. The police got involved, but they couldn't find any signs of a break-in. I know how unbelievable all of this is. If it weren't for the fact that all of this actually happened to me, I wouldn't believe it either. But I don't know what to do. Since that day, I feel like constantly something or someone is watching me. And today I had a nightmare with the same man that my little brother was seeing. Whatever was happening to my little brother is now slowly happening to me. Me and my little brother need help, but there's no one to turn to. As I'm writing this, I can feel someone standing behind me, but I know that it's none of my family members. I didn't even hear them come in. I'm scared to even turn around. Please tell me how to make it stop.